All right, let's get right into it. The question we're tackling today is a big one, maybe one of the most important in the world right now. Is China actually keeping the war in Ukraine going? We're going to follow the evidence, almost like a forensic investigation to see if China is the silent partner fueling Russia's war machine.
So here's the big puzzle. Russia has been slammed with some of the most intense sanctions we've ever seen. Logically, you'd think their military production would grind to a halt, but it hasn't. In fact, in some areas, it's actually speeding up. So how on earth is that possible? Well, we're going to dig into the supply chains to find out.
You know, the whole point of these sanctions was pretty straightforward. Cut off the money and the tech. Starve Russia of what it needs to build tanks, to build missiles, to build drones. The idea was to basically shut down its military-industrial complex. But that's not what happened. Not even close.
And this is where the trail leads. U.S. intelligence is pretty clear on this. The answer, they say, points directly to the People's Republic of China. This quote says it all. China's become the critical partner for Russia. So, let's follow that trail, and we'll start where the weapons themselves are born, on the factory floor.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the physical stuff, the nuts and bolts. You simply can't build a modern weapon without very specific, very advanced tools. And it turns out Russia's supply of these critical items has been completely transformed. So we have to talk about these things called CNC machines. Just think of them as incredibly sophisticated robot carving tools. They can shape metal with a precision that is just mind-boggling, and they are absolutely 100% non-negotiable for making modern weapons parts. We're talking everything from missile casings to tank barrels. Now, this is where it gets really telling. Before 2022, Russia got its best top-of-the-line CNC machines from places like Germany and Japan. Then, sanctions hit and cut off that supply completely. And who stepped in to fill that massive gap? Chinese companies. Russia was forced to pivot, and China was right there waiting.
And look, we're not just talking about some vague dual-use technology that could be for anything. This is a screenshot from a Chinese supplier's website. It's not hiding anything. It openly, right there on the page, advertises that it makes artillery components and missile components. It's hiding in plain sight.
Okay, so that's the physical body of the weapon. But what about its brain? Modern weapons are basically flying computers. They run on microchips, sensors, and all sorts of complex electronics. And this is another area where a new lifeline has appeared, even extending to things like satellite imagery to help Russia aim better. So, intelligence agencies are actually tracking this stuff. They have a name for it. The Common High Priority Items List. It's basically Russia's high-tech shopping list. It's about 50 critical parts that, yeah, they might have normal commercial uses, but they're also the exact same components being found inside Russian missiles and drones recovered on the battlefield.
And this list covers the whole spectrum. Tier 1 is the really critical stuff, the microprocessors, the actual brains. But it goes all the way down to things you might not think about, like specialized ball bearings. I mean, even something that sounds that simple is absolutely crucial for the guidance systems. Russia needs the whole ecosystem, top to bottom.
So the billion-dollar question is, where is Russia getting all this? Well, this chart says it all, and it is staggering. In 2023, a whopping 83% of these critical high-priority items came from China and Hong Kong. It's not just a major supplier, it is the supplier. The dependency is almost total. And you really have to understand the role Hong Kong plays here. It's the perfect hub for getting around sanctions. Why? Because you can set up shell companies super easily, hide who really owns them, and move money and goods before anyone's the wiser. It's the perfect logistical laundromat. All right, so this brings us to the final crucial piece of the puzzle. You've got the machines, you've got the microchips, but how are you paying for it all? Especially when you've been kicked out of the mainstream global banking system. Well, as they say, follow the money.
Okay, so think of it like this. The main highway for global money is a system called SWIFT. Russia's biggest banks got kicked off that highway. So what did? They took a detour. China and Russia have been busy building their own financial highways, systems that let them trade with each other using their own currencies, completely bypassing the dollar and Western sanctions.
And we're not talking about small potatoes here. Look at this number. In 2023, trade between Russia and China exploded to $240 billion. That's a record. This isn't just a business relationship. This is a massive strategic rewiring of their economies.
Now this chart, this one really tells the story. Before the war, the Chinese yuan was basically a rounding error on the Moscow exchange, less than 1%.
Fast forward to 2023, and it's 42%, more than the US dollar. Think about that. Russia is fundamentally repegging its entire economy away from the West and toward China.
And you have to see this from China's perspective, too. For them, this was a golden opportunity. The moment Russia was sanctioned, transactions on China's own payment system jumped by 50%. This war became the ultimate stress test and proof of concept for their alternative to the dollar-dominated financial system.
So let's pull all these threads together. We followed the trail from the factory tools that make the weapons, to the microchips that guide them, to the financial plumbing that pays for it all. And when you connect those dots, the picture that emerges is pretty clear.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is the official assessment from the top U.S. intelligence agency. Their verdict? Unambiguous. China is an increasingly important buttress, a support pillar for Russia's war. It doesn't get much clearer than that.
So if you remember one thing, it's this three-part system. First, you have the factory. China provides the machines and raw materials to build the weapons. Second, the brains. China supplies the electronics to make those weapons smart. And third, the fuel. China provides the sanctions-proof financial system to pay for the whole operation.
And this is so much bigger than just Russia and Ukraine. As this report puts it, this is about a whole new alignment in the world. Beijing is becoming the economic center of gravity for a club of nations that want to operate outside the Western-led system. Which leaves us with one final sobering thought. After seeing how deep this dependency runs across manufacturing, technology, and money, you have to ask, if this lifeline from China were suddenly cut, how long could Russia's war effort actually last? A few months? A year? The answer to that question really tells you everything you need to know.